Welcome to this episode of Bounded in a Nutshell. Remember to take a moment to click on the link below to donate to a very special organization. Figure Skating in Harlem is the first organization in the world to combine the power of education with the grace and discipline of figure skating. It is dedicated to developing confidence, leadership, and academic achievement in young girls from low-income backgrounds. The numerous stories of success from its alumni owe a great deal to the unique blend of mentoring and self-expression that is championed by FSH. Remember, no donation is too small or too large to keep the dream alive for these exceptional young girls. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
Cool. Do we need any warm-up before any explanation, or just go into it?
Explanation might be good, or just tell us what you're doing. Yeah.
Cool. I'm doing a piece from Viet Gone. It's a play by Queen Nguyen. I want to just work on like TV acting and TV auditioning. I find that whenever I go in for that, like you were talking during the Q&A, like everything that I've been told has been like, make it really small, or it's a different format, so you have to act differently. So I want to try using a theater piece in a kind of a TV-esque setting and like see how that goes.
Oh, cool.
Great. I mean, why don't you just yeah, just go. Oh, I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Good.
What do you think's gonna happen, man? You get on that boat and what? You just go home? Be with your family? You were the captain of a 10 helicopter squadron that trained here in America. What happens to the guy when he goes back to Vietnam, huh? Tell me, what happens to that guy? He dies. At best, they put a bullet in your brain, because the other option is they put you in one of their camps. And I'm not talking about some 2-year re-education cakewalk. I'm talking about the rest of your goddamn life. So what good are you gonna do for your wife or for your kids if you're dead or locked up? If you love them, I mean, if you really fucking love them, the best thing you can do is let them go.
Great. That was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. It really simple, and you know, I would my very first impression is not that this is some theater piece that has been transported into film. That felt completely like that could have been a film audition, you know, with material made for film.
Yeah, and I felt the same way, and I'm wondering about the relationship of these two people. Can you tell me a little bit about who your character is and who you're speaking to?
Yeah, I'm the best friend. I'm Nan. He's friends with Quang. Quang is like the helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War. Nan is his like co-pilot, best friend. So when the country fell, they escaped together to America. And the entire duration of the play, Nan has been going with Quang from a refugee camp in Arkansas to the coast of California. And now is the time where I'm like, after all this time, he's now finally saying, going back to Vietnam's a bad idea. Your family cannot be near you, and you will die if you go back.
Yeah, so the stakes really couldn't be higher.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing that I was sort of thinking about, is actually to not be afraid of embracing the stakes of this. And that I think the sort of thesis of it really, when you ask that question, you say, what happens to that guy? He dies. And like, I think to remember what you're trying to do to this person. And I was wondering what the risk is for you to say this to him. Like, are you risking losing your friendship? Are you, and beyond that, you're risking losing this person at all because they might die? So I think, and even though it's film and television, I just to play with the stakes of that a little bit more, and what that does to you while you're it's probably a very vulnerable place for you too, or I don't know, or how risky is it for you to say this to him? What are you expecting him to say? And also, now I know that you're doing it, there's no one, but keep checking in with him and see if you're getting to him, because you keep layering these different examples, and you have different tactics. So first it's like, that's a freaking doozy. You lead up to like, what happens to him? He fucking dies.
Right.
Like, that's it, you know, and these are the reasons why, and this is, you know, and I think to keep it really active for yourself, to keep checking in with him to see if you're getting him. Am I getting him? Am I getting him? Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that, I find in general with soliloquies, with speeches, I think your mind can often get into this mindset that here we go, I'm going into a speech, and here I'm going to deliver it to you. And not that you were doing this, but I think that's just a natural instinct when you see a big block of text in a script, and because they're so juicy, and you just want to,
So much highlighter.
Excuse to sort of to take center stage. And I think it's important. It's as important to see a speech or a soliloquy or a monologue as a scene. You know, that you're always receiving at least as much information as you're giving.
And I'm just going to jump on that, David, on what Nadia and Corey have said, is that create this I know there's a bigger play or bigger thing that this comes from, but for your purposes of using it as an audition piece, which is part of what we're talking about also, is that you can finesse the parameters. So don't give yourself as much time. Raise the stakes for yourself in that he's about to get on that ship. Don't assume it's like we talk about in Shakespeare with big speeches. Don't assume the person's just going to stay there and listen to you. You have to give them a reason to hear the next block of speech that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right, go for it. Yeah. All right.
What do you think's going to happen, man? You get on that boat and what? You just go home? You be with your family. You were the captain of a 10-helicopter squadron that trained here in America. I mean, what do you think happens to that guy when he goes back to Vietnam? Huh? What happens to him? He dies. At best, that is. At best, they put a bullet in your brain, because the other option is they put you in one of their camps. And I'm not talking about some 2-year re-education cakewalk. I'm talking the rest of your goddamn life. So what good are you gonna do? For your wife, for your kids, if you're dead or locked up? If you love them. I mean, if you really fucking love them, the best thing you can do is let them go.
That was great. Fantastic.
That was awesome.
Thrilling. And I have to say, I think especially at the very top, you seemed in another mode in terms of taking in information. And I think, so you say, what's the worst that can happen? You die. And then you take in how he responds to that. It's still not getting through to him. So the next thing, it has to go up. I think, you know, in a way you sort of downshifted a little bit in terms of, you know what I mean? You want to just try that again and see what happens when what you think is your trump card, you're going to die, doesn't work.
Right.
And allow that to take, you thought you had control over this conversation, and the strongest thing that you could have used against him doesn't work. And just let that take you wherever it takes you.
Because the next thing is, it's a fucking, sorry, people that don't like cursing, but it's a fucking, like,
I love it.
Like a re-education camp. Like, it can be worse than death. Right. That makes sense.
And also, yeah, and then on top of that, then like the driving home about the family, it's like you're throwing down there. You're like, if you actually really love them as much as you say you do, like you're gonna do this hard thing. Like this is like you're asking him to do one of the most intuitively impossible things, to let the things go that you love the most. But like you like driving that home, that's actually what real love is. Do you know what that is? You know, and but I think you were there. I got goosebumps. I was like, you're totally there. It's really great. So yeah, I didn't try. Yeah, try that.
Okay. Yeah, and then, you know, it's like, and often when you're doing, when you're filming, and you have I find often good actor-friendly directors, you'll get there and you'll do a great take, and they'll be like, okay, just do one for yourself, you know. And I think that's what you should do now. You got it in the can. That last take was great. Now, give yourself the gift of surprising yourself. Start out where you did before, and let something worse than death take you someplace that you weren't planning to go.
Gotcha. Cool. What do you think's gonna happen, man? You get on that boat and what? You just go home? Be with your family. You were the captain of a 10 helicopter squadron that trained here in America. What do you think happens to that guy when he goes back to Vietnam, huh? Tell me what happens to that guy. He dies. At best, that is. At best, they put a bullet in your brain, because the other option is they put you in one of their camps. And I'm not talking about some 2-year re-education cakewalk. I'm talking about the rest of your goddamn life. So what good are you gonna do for your wife or for your kids if you're dead or locked up? If you love them, I mean, if you really fucking love them, the best thing you can do is let them go.
That was great. How'd that feel?
Yeah, that felt, I mean, I guess it's like my mind is always like, I think this is a big hangover from grad school. And like that thing of like, surprise yourself is the note that I always get. And it's like, there's a larger story to serve. Yeah. So don't do that now, because we have to do this bit now so we can do that later. But I think like, yeah, fucking just doing what I feel.
I know.
That acting thing is so important.
But you know, you can do what you feel because you've clearly done the work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's what the work is for.
It's never going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like at this point, like it's never going to be bad. You know, like it might not be the right choice or something, but like the idea of it being bad is not going to happen, because you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, you know who this person is, you understand this relationship.
And your actions are for the other person, David. That's one of the big things that people get scared, especially when it comes to camera and stuff, that, oh, I'm going to be too big, or, oh, am I going to be too emotional? My emotional is going to be... You actually don't have to worry about any of that shit if it's sourced in the other person. Like you took the emotion to another level there, but it never once seemed indulgent, because it was all about, are you out of your fucking mind?
Right.
And that's sourcing it in the other person. And as Corey and Nadia said, if you've done the work for why you're saying stuff, the sourcing in the other person allows you to be as big or as friggin' as you need to. But the moment it's sourced in you and you're aware, that's the emotive shit, you know? But it's all about, I mean, I saw fear for him, you know, the more you invested in it. And that's the point of it. Like, you're scared, you're going to lose your life, you know? Yeah. So source it in the other person. I think that's going to be a big note. It has been so far, and it's going to always be a big note, is that take your emotional attention off yourself. It really is on, you're working with two of the best practitioners of that around, actually. Is that it's always has to be on the other person. And when we use words like, oh, simplify, for me, what that means is get over yourself and put it on the other person.
Right.
If there's a point, because what you're trying to do to other people are usually quite singular. You know, when you're thinking of it in terms of yourself, that's when you start thinking of, okay, my subtext is this, my layer is this, my top layer. But when it's about the other person, it's actually quite singular.
Right.
You're not getting on that boat. Corey, Nadia, I don't know whether, you know.
That's exactly, yeah. And I think also, and that's interesting to use the word simplify, because like, don't translate that as be smaller.
Yeah.
Don't, I think we tend to cave in. We're like, oh, okay, you know, and that's like death right there. Because then you're definitely not going to be reaching the other person at all.
And I think also, you know, especially because it's in the way you preface this was that, you know, you're working toward film work and very specifically. And I think, you know, a good director, and it's not always going to be like this, but a good director, a good producer, if they encounter a good performance, they will adjust their shot to your performance. So, you know, they set up and we have to do we have to do a wide shot, and we have to do a medium 2 shot, and we have to do the over the shoulders, and then a close up. But so we have to get all that coverage. But if your performance is big and loud, but it's real and it's what's right for the movie, then they'll stay in the wide shot, or they'll stay over the shoulder. You know, that's like, it's not your job to find
the editing.
Yeah. Your job is to find the emotional reality of it. Now, it's true, if you're in a shot like this, you can't be moving and spitting, but
you weren't at all. You were very focused.
It was very Great.
Thank you, David. Nice one.
Hello.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, guys. I'm going to dive into playing with Richard II. And in terms of what I'm working on, I think just, processing what you just brilliantly said, and Chuck as well, just putting my attention on the other and seeing how I can change them. And I guess owning the language and letting go of, I guess, whatever idea might be on it. Yeah.
Okay.
This comfortable cousin, knowest thou not that when the searching eye of heaven is hid behind the globe that lights the lower world, then thieves and robbers range abroad unseen, and murders and an outrage boldly hear. But when from under this terrestrial ball he fires the proud tops of the eastern pines and darts his light through every guilty hole, then murders, treasons, and detested sins, the cloak of night being plucked from off their backs, stand bare and naked, trembling at themselves. So when this thief, this traitor Bolingbroke, who all this while have reveled in the night, whilst we were wandering with the Antipodes, shall see us rising in our throne the east, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, not able to endure the sight of day, but self-affrighted, tremble at his sin. Not all the water in the rough, rude sea can wash the balm off from an anointed king. The breath of worldly men cannot oppose the deputy elected by the Lord. For every man that Bolingbroke hath pressed to lift shrewd steel against our golden crown, God for his Richard hath in heavenly pay a glorious angel. Then if angels fight, weak men must fall, for heaven still guards the right.
Great. That's
awesome.
Yeah. That was so great, and you were breathing with the language in a really great way, and the level of relaxation that you have and the fun that you're having with the language is really coming through. I'm not very familiar with Richard II. Chuck, are you more familiar?
It's that is a real, I mean, what you did there, that was great as far as Richard is that self entitlement. He has a huge sense of ordained by God. So you had that quality definitely on there. What I would say is that about that is that, and I agree with Corey completely about clearly you're comfortable with the language and fun. Corey used the word fun, and I think people should really remember this, especially when you find yourself having to do that Shakespeare thing that makes you just the fun. If you're at ease, the director's at ease, and that's a big step towards you getting the job, right? But what I would say as far as the material is that, Anthony, is that I think you were very much focused on the argument.
Yes.
You were very much focused on making the argument. And one of the earlier guests we had was Kristen Linklater, and one of the things she said is that in the verse, in the writing, the argument has been made for you.
That's right.
What we want to see with you, the actor, this living body, is to fill in the gaps of the argument. For instance, a big part for me is that there was no shift between how you were talking to the person who reported the news about Bolingbroke to you to how you talked about Bolingbroke. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
When you describe him, when this mother, son of a, oh wow, this is a really big swearing session today we're having. It's great. That's what I'm talking about, is that the argument is there. We can hear you don't like Bolingbroke.
Yes.
But what's your reaction to Bolingbroke? What are you putting on that image of Bolingbroke? You know what I mean? There has to be a shift there. You know what I mean? Because you're going from talking to someone who's doing their job to you, one of your favorites,
yes,
to describing this guy. So we have to see a shift in that. Again, it's in creating all, like Nadia said, is that the beginning, middle, and end of this play, as far as we're concerned, is this speech. That's it. So we have to see all your relationships with the person you're talking to. You have to see how they're reacting to the news. We have to see your reaction to the person you're talking about. All about putting it, sourcing it in what you're talking about. Does that make sense? As opposed to, the quality is there. You've got the armor. You've got the, now let's have your opinion about these people you're talking about. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, and to leapfrog on that, I think, one thing we were just working with John Doyle that I found really helpful. There's one very, very simple thing, but I think it really unlocks a lot in speaking verse, is, the British call a period at the end of a sentence a full stop. And I think that's a really helpful way of thinking of it.
Okay.
And so, Shakespeare writes some really long sentences, and it's delicious to just keep on going. But when he gives you a period, when he gives you a full stop, you have to take it. And you have to,
and full stops are,
that thought is over and another thought is beginning.
And the full stops are one of the few, probably only the real editing thing in the text you can trust. The commas, semicolons, and whatever are more like editor stuff. So the full stops are the ones you really, and also your speech could end in so many parts during that speech also. Yeah, there's not one long thought. It's like you've made your point, but then something makes you want to keep talking. Then something makes you want to keep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that will necessarily give a dynamic to any speech. And
I would just say too, and I think you're already well on your way, but one of the things John would say to us too, and I think I mentioned this the other day, was just that you are enough. You got this guy. You don't have to put anything else on. Like, you understand what you're saying. He's, in your mind, he's just you. He's not a bad guy. He's not, he doesn't have to have a title about who he is. As you're working, think that there's no separation. There's no leaping into, like, you just need to bring him into you. And you no offense, you are this guy.
It's not an offense, but thank you.
No, it's great. It's wonderful. You can speak these words. You have these thoughts. You have a mind like that. You have, there's no judgment in your part as the character of what you think. Everything you're doing is right. Everything you believe is correct. Yes. So there's no, you don't have to sell it to us at all. I remember thinking this with Lady M. I was like, am I going to seem crazy enough? like, do I seem crazy enough? And the sad truth was, yes.
Corey goes.
I know, right? I know, right? And the sad truth is like, yes, you will seem crazy enough, because crazy is a quality, and essentially behavior is what makes someone look, crazy or not. It's like, I remember someone saying about, like, you want to play Ophelia and you want to seem crazy, just change your intention on every line, and that seemed like change a tactic, change, like it's a person who, I'm not saying that he's crazy, but but qualities and descriptive ways that we think of these people, they're often not helpful in the doing. Anyway, you got it.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, we just threw a lot at you.
I know. Where'd he go?
But yeah, we'd love to just see.
Do you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Great.
Go ahead. Discomfortable cousin, knowest thou not that when the searching eye of heaven is hid behind the globe that lights the lower world, then thieves and robbers range abroad unseen and in outrage boldly hear. But when from under this terrestrial ball he fires the proud tops of the eastern pines and darts his light through every guilty hole, then murders, treasons, and detested sins, the cloak of night being plucked from off their backs, stand bare and naked, trembling at themselves. So when this thief, this traitor, Bolingbroke, who all this while hath reveled in the night, whilst we were wandering with the Antipodes, shall see us rising in our throne the east, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, not able to endure the sight of day, but self-affrighted, tremble at his sin. Not all the water in the rough rude sea can wash the balm off from an anointed king. The breath of worldly men cannot depose the deputy elected by the Lord. For every man that Bolingbroke hath pressed to lift shrewd steel against our golden crown, God for his Richard hath in heavenly pay a glorious angel. Then, if angels fight, weak men must fall, for heaven still guards the right.
Great. That's
where
great.
you're at, where you're at right now. Two things. Sin,
Yeah.
you repeat he,
Yeah.
God, God, God. That's a capital H. You use the idea of sin. Not all the waters can wash away the balm. Do you get that sense of entitled? Just get that sense of you're the connection to God.
Yes.
After God, the next thing after God in that whatever is the king.
Yes.
It's you and then God. And this Bolingbroke, who's, if there's you and there's God, this Bolingbroke who's here is
Right.
trying to usurp this. You're God on earth. You're the embodiment of God on earth. So with that, everything you've done, just throw that in to the whole speech and just do it again. Throw that in, that connection.
To God.
Can I just add one? Can I just add one thing to that? What's the line that has the word elected in it?
No, the breath of worldly men cannot depose the deputy elected by the Lord.
I think elected is the most important word in this speech, and just in general, and this, you're using that, but it's the verbs, it's the action words that are going to tell this story, because as an audience, we're only going to understand a minority of the words that you say, and it's essential. You have these images, and you've really. I can see you really know these images, and you're painting them for us. And I think what's so great about these verbs in Shakespeare is that is what launches these images towards us and builds one on the other. And so I think elected is a huge word right there.
Cool. Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say what I said.
Sorry.
Sorry. Not to make you self-conscious, but your voice.
Yes.
About an octave lower the second time you did the speech.
And maintain that.
Well, it was your voice, and I think and I think it's the closer you can bring Richard's voice to your voice, the better it will be.
Something started to happen where all of a sudden I was like, oh, like there was a blending that was happening, and you disappeared.
Yes.
Or he disappeared into you. I don't know what happened, but
I think that was just you connecting with the image of who you're talking to, Anthony, as opposed to giving us a Richard. Yes. Remembering it, entirely grounding it on who you're talking about and who you're talking to. You know what I mean? That's what was happening with the voice completely, you know? So go deeper into the imagery. And like Corey said, also go those words that matter to you, that you're elected and that it's a sin to attack you. And the balm, look at all the holy words he's using. It's all being ordained. You know what I mean? For this guy. Yeah?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
Discomfortable cousin, knowest thou not that when the searching eye of heaven is hid behind the glow that lights the lower world, then thieves and robbers range abroad unseen in murders and in outrage boldly here. But when from under this terrestrial ball he fires the proud tops of the eastern pines and darts his light through every guilty hole, then murders, treasons, and detested sins, the cloak of night being plucked from off their backs, stand bare and naked, trembling at themselves. So, when this thief, this traitor, Bolingbroke, who all this while hath revelled in the night, shall see us rising and outthrone the east, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, not able to endure the sight of day, but self-affrighted, tremble at his sin. Not all the water in the rough, rude sea can wash the balm off from an anointed king. The breath of worldly men cannot oppose the deputy elected by the Lord. For every man that Bolingbroke had pressed to lift shrewd steel against our golden crown, God, for his Richard, hath in heavenly pay a glorious angel. Then, if angels fight, weak men must fall, for heaven still guards the right.
Right.
Up and down, but awesome adjustments and cool ideas playing in, I guess.
No, I mean, I don't think you should, after 15 minutes, feel that you have perfected anything.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously, this is a really crazy thing, and there's 3 separate people throwing notes at you, so this is a kind of a unique thing. But I think especially with Shakespeare, with myself, it takes so much work to just figure out what you're saying, and to make it at all flow and feel like speech, that once you get there, to be able to break it up and to decide to stress out a new word, it can be very discombobulating. But I think you need to embrace that discombobulation, and part of that is that sometimes the next time you do it, that one line, those 2 lines sang out in a way that I'd never heard it before, and the rest of it I didn't feel as good about. But I don't think you should discount if there was part of it that didn't feel as strong or whatever you were hoping it would be. I think in Shakespeare, the more you can challenge yourself to stress the word that you didn't think was the word that you should stress, the more you're going to surprise yourself and come up with something.
Unlock something.
Yeah.
Also, just a small little thing that I noticed over the course of this, you smiled a lot the first time around. And by the end, and then the second one, you smiled a little bit on Anointed King, and you really enjoyed it. And I was like, I like that. And it was like, it was just, you saved it for the right moments. And I think it's really effective because he doesn't, I think sometimes when we're trying to, even unconsciously, we're doing it to, you know, do you like what I'm saying? Do you like what I'm saying? And then you started to care less.
Which is the sign of true power. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I loved what you did with the word elected, because some people, when we say, "Oh, elected" is a big word, you pound it to death and whatever. But it was almost like it's almost like the word came to you, almost on an intellectual level. I'm elected, and it was beautiful. Tomorrow you could do it, and it'd be like elected. It could be a million things differently. It's all about knowing what the point of what you're trying to say is. And I just loved how you did it. Like, I don't know, Corey, you gave him the word. It really, he sort of like switched to something, a new idea with elected.
That was a thrilling moment for me, because that is not how I expected
you to do it.
To land. And it was really that I thought was the closest I'd seen to somebody who is king. Somebody who, it's so hard to play the king, because it's really the job of the people around you to imbue you with that power. But in moments like that, where you are, you know, you're being sort of brought into an argument, and then I don't want to make you too conscious about what you were doing, but it was almost like you were being riled up into a fight, and then halfway through the argument you realized this is not a fight.
Okay.
In
the words of Mel Brooks, it's good to be king.
I was born.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just a note on that, and why this is so brilliant already from just two people, is, guys, don't expect by the end of the 15 minutes for you to have your take that what we're hoping for the 15 minutes is that Corey and Nadia are going to be giving you ways of approaching this work so you can keep mining away at it and surprising yourselves. It's not that you're going to have the finished product at the end of it, just to give yourselves that sort of sympathy and a break also, you know, and stuff. But thank you. Nice work, mate.
Thank you.
Who's that?
Who's next?
Unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hi.
How do you pronounce your name?
I'm sorry?
How do you pronounce your name?
My name's Johan.
Johan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm going to be doing a piece from Completeness by Itamar Moses. It's a play. I am going to, the thing that I'm looking for, I use this piece for grad school auditions. I really love it. And I would love for you to I want to really pull it apart and try and imbue something new into it. It feels like a piece that I know really well, and it means something really special to me. So cool. Well, I really like you. No, really a lot. And I'm attracted to you, and you're really smart, and we're interested in a lot of the same things, and I think about you when you're not around. And so I'm sorry if I seem spare or remote, but I promise it has nothing to do with not wanting to be close to you or wanting to be with other people or, okay, I mean, it does. Of course it does a little. I mean, sure, I want to sleep with every attractive woman I meet or pass by on the street or am told about secondhand, which I used to think was just us, but maybe is actually you guys too. Right? Not that I actually want to go out and actually sleep with lots of people. That's an awful lot of work, and it usually turns out to be more trouble than it's worth, and I'm getting off topic. What it is the fear that knowing everything about each other will eliminate the wanting. And so maybe what I was hoping for was that this time, if I could just hold something just close enough to keep it from disappearing, but just far enough a way to maintain how I felt about it, then maybe I could draw this first part out a little, because I don't know about you, but I don't have any compelling evidence something better than this even exists, that it ever gets any better than still wanting to be with you, or still knowing that I can or could. So maybe what's required is, I'm so tired of going back and forth between failing at this and wondering why I failed. I want us to know everything about each other. I want us to know so much that it feels like we know less and less every day. Sorry, too much? Too soon?
The main thing I'm going to say about this, like, again, it's sort of like what we've said to the other two guys and stuff before they join us, is I completely get your state. Your state right now is very clear. You're very nervous and you have to get this thing out to this person and you don't know how to go about it. What I was missing in that is how the person is listening to you. Like, I don't see you taking it off them to propel you to say the next part of the speech. Does that make sense? Have you, like, I need to feel that there's someone in front of you you're talking to, and every time you say something, they react in a different way. They might like it, they might hate it, they might move off to head off, or they might want to stay, they might be drawn in. I need to see some kind of conversation between you and them to justify the fact that you keep speaking to us. Does that make sense? Right now, there's a take, this take you've done assumes they're gonna wait right through the conversation and impassively listen to you and watch you navigate through stuff. But I think you're doing stuff, what you're saying is deeply moving and deeply personal. So we want to see that you're having some kind of effect on them, and the effect you're having on them is propelling you on to keep talking. You know, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you say it's a deeply personal thing, but it clearly is. So let's put the personal baggage onto the person that's listening to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because right now I see you navigating it through for yourself, and you've done that in the quiet of your bedroom, or you've done that in the quiet of your walkover. You've done that, but now the person you're talking to is right here in front of you. So we need to see that come into your decision making, how you launch into stuff, how you speak about the next part. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Great. So why not give it another go?
Apologies.
Nadia,
our internet just fell out, but Corey's got his phone as a hotspot, so we're good now. Sorry.
Great. Johan is ready to give you another go.
We were like quarter way in, we were like, no. So what Chuck said.
And also, would you prefer if we go away while you do this, or?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Molly, I really like you. No, like, really, a lot. And I'm attracted to you, and you're really smart, and we're interested in a lot of the same things. And I think about you when you're not around. And so I'm sorry if I seem spare or remote, but I promise it has nothing to do with not wanting to be close to you, or wanting to be with other people, or, okay, I mean, it does. Of course it does. A little, I mean, sure, I want to sleep with every attractive woman I meet, or pass by on the street, or I'm told about secondhand, which I used to think was just us, but maybe is actually you guys too, right? Not that I actually want to go out and actually sleep with lots of people. That's an awful lot of work, and it usually turns out to be more trouble than it's worth. And I'm getting off topic. What it is the fear that knowing everything about each other will eliminate the wanting. And so maybe what I was hoping for was that this time, if I could just hold something just close enough to keep it from disappearing, but just far enough away to maintain how I felt about it, then maybe I could drag this first part out a little, because I don't know about you, but I don't have any compelling evidence that something better than this even exists. That it ever gets any better than still wanting to be with you, or still knowing that I can or could. So maybe what's required is, I'm so tired of going back and forth between failing at this and wondering why I failed. I want us to know everything about each other. I want us to know so much that it feels like we know less and less every day. Sorry, too much. Too soon.
Great.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we got to see the whole thing. Thank you.
Cool.
I think that was what a fun monologue, and what a great monologue for you too, I think. And it's deeply funny, it's deeply human, and I think kind of further along what Chuck was saying, I think you can allow yourself, I think you're in too much control. I think this is a guy who's in the middle of a crisis, and he's trying to figure out what the fuck any of it means, what the right thing to say is that's not going to drive this person away, but also be honest. But how can I be honest and still keep her? And fuck. And I think you could even honestly like jump up and down a little bit. I think you could stand on your tiptoes. Chris Bays, anybody know Chris Bays? He would often, before you do a clown exercise, he would like how you stand on your tiptoes and then you wait till you're about to fall, and then you do the scene. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it's kind of one of those scenes. I think he doesn't know what he's gonna say. So he's saying a lot of different things, and he's stopping and starting like I think even also right before you say, I really like you, I think you gotta fill yourself up like a fucking hot air balloon, and just like all this feeling, just like, and what comes out is, I really like you, you know. I just like, there's like, he's so full of emotion. Like, I think you're about, that's my impression. I don't know if this is, but like, that's why there's all of this stuff shooting around. And then at one point you say, I'm sorry. What did she do? Why did you say, I'm sorry? Did she do something? Did she make a face? Did she, I'm sorry, that was, again, you're like, oh fuck, that wasn't the right thing. It was earlier on. And then like, and you say, there's one thing, oh my God, I can't even, this is hilarious.
That looks like Thai.
That looks like a different language. I was writing and trying to watch you at the same time, but like, you say something, I don't even know if it's like, and then you stop the sentence. It's like, you're like, I think what it means is, or like, it's something to that effect. It's towards the end.
Maybe what's required is,
and then you don't say it. I'm like, oh, what was required? Like, what I mean, like, what was he gonna say? Like, what is required? And then you find a different way to say it. But I think this is somebody who's trying, and also like, and trying to find connection, and like, you just talked about trying to see with other people. You're like, but then like, well, don't you guys want to do that too? Like there's like I think you guys want to do that. Like you're finding that you're separating out, trying to be your own person, and then, but you're also trying to bring her into it. And like, and this is all, I think the thesis of it too. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm excited about it because I think this is a really great monologue. But the thesis of it is, I want to get to know you. But I want to get to know you and have it be the most fucking exciting, hot thing in the world. And like, that's the predicament. And like, you're coming around to it and it's just like, how do I do that? And I need you to help me do that. And you're trying to be honest without pushing someone away. So I think you understand exactly what you're saying. And it may even just be like a energy that's running inside of you and need, that you just have to make, really, the stakes have to be high. I think really high. And I think you have to worry about, I think even we could try it speed. Like just try it really fucking fast. Just for an exercise. Like, does anyone agree with me on that?
Yeah, can't hurt.
I was literally about to say, have all that going on, make your point, but try and go twice as fast. It's spilling out before you stop. You know it's come out before, so that those moments where you take the leap, the Bayes leap, as you say, we're suspended with you. You know what I mean? So, but I think Nadia's right. Just let yourself lose control a bit and see where that takes you.
And don't worry if it comes out, and if you mess up, doesn't matter.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, just before we start, I just wanted to add, when you first started, you said that this piece is very special to you. Mm-hmm. Is it very personal? Can you tell us why it's so special?
If
it's too personal, don't feel you have to share it with us. But whatever that is, just like don't hold on to that, because so often one's very own first impression with the work, the first time you read through it is magical, and then you spend all of your time in rehearsal trying to get back to that, and that's a fool's errand, right. You know, and we all do it, but you want to recapture that. But so instead of actually trying to recapture what you did the first time you read it out loud, allow this to be the first time that you read it out loud.
Or just show. Don't have to tell us what it means to you. No, just show us why it's special to you.
Oh, I really like you. Like really a lot, and I'm attracted to you, and you're really smart, and we're interested in a lot of the same things, and I think about you when you're not around. And so I'm sorry if I seemed spare or remote, but I promise it has nothing to do with not wanting to be close to you or wanting to be with other people. Okay, I mean, it does, of course it does a little. I mean, sure, I want to sleep with every attractive woman I meet or pass by on the street or I'm told about secondhand, which I used to think was just us, but maybe it's actually you guys too, right? Not that I actually want to go out and actually sleep with lots of people. That's an awful lot of work. It usually turns out to be more trouble than it's worth, and I'm getting off topic. What it is the fear that knowing everything about each other will eliminate the wanting. And so maybe what I was hoping for was that this time, if I could just hold something just close enough to keep it from disappearing, but just far enough away to maintain how I felt about it, then maybe I could draw this first part out a little. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have any compelling evidence that something better than this even exists. That it ever gets any better than still wanting to be with you, or still knowing that I can or could. So maybe what's required is, I'm so tired of going back and forth between failing at this and wondering why I failed. I want us to know everything about each other. I want us to know so much that it feels like we know less and less every day. Sorry, too much, too soon.
That was fantastic.
I wish you could hear us laughing.
Yeah. I was laughing so hard.
I think we're going over a little bit, but so won't make you do that again. But I thought that was a brilliant adjustment. And I feel like it was, I think at a certain point you hit the word fear really big. And I felt that was a sort of a downshift. And I think in the, you know, in the final product or whatever, that might be the right place to do that. But I think this is a fun exercise for you to continue and to drive through with the speed that you had in the first half of that piece, and to go all the way through. Because I think speed, it's not necessarily, and often that's, especially in auditions, there's a real instinct to just go too fast anyway. But I think as an exercise, this is really helpful for you, because I think it can help. It's a monologue that you've done a lot and you're really familiar with, and I think it can just sort of break up some of the patterns and allow yourself to find this stuff.
It was really like, it was funny, not in that, it was just funny in a very human way, which was great. It was somewhat, you're watching someone in real time trying to figure out these thoughts, and it was really electric at times too. So bravo.
And we never, and the audience could never get it ahead of you,
right?
Which is always a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely work, Johan. Thank you for being brave with that, mate. Really. All right. Who's next?
Me. Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for holding space for us virtually this way. It's really a gift. So,
thanks for showing up.
My name is Clotilde, and this is a piece that's fairly new to me, but I'm excited to explore it with you. It's Richard from Richard III, and it's Lady Anne. Set down. Set down your honorable load. If honor may be shrouded in a hearse, whilst I a while obsequiously lament the untimely fall of virtuous Lancaster. Poor, key-cold figure of a holy king. Pale ashes of the house of Lancaster. Thou bloodless remnant of that royal blood. Be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne, wife to thy Edward, to thy slaughtered son, stabbed by the selfsame hands that made these holes. Lo, into these windows that let forth thy life, I pour the helpless balm of my poor eyes. Cursed be the hands that made these holes. Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it. Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence. More direful hap betide that hated wretch that makes us wretched by the death of thee than I can wish to spiders, adders, toads, or any creeping venomed thing that lives. If ever he have child, abortive be it, prodigious and untimely brought to life, whose ugly and unnatural aspects may fright the hopeful mother at the view, and that be heir to his unhappiness. If ever he have wife, let her be made a miserable by the death of him, as I am made by the death of my poor lord. And thee, come now towards Chertsey with your holy load, taken from Paul's to be interred there.
Great. It's so funny. I'm actually reading Richard III right now, and that the scene that comes after this, I think is one of the most brilliant scenes.
Was ever woman in this humor wooed? Yeah.
And so it's really great to focus on how badass this speech is, and I think you've completely you have internalized this curse, that you over this body, and it's really strong. And I think I think what could be really helpful for you is to start off a little bit more literal. When you tell the people who are bearing the body to, set down this heavy load, and then at the end, you like pick it up and let's go again. So I think that's, I feel like you're sort of already in this lamentation that turns into a curse from the get-go. Do you know what I mean?
100.
So I think if you give yourself, I don't know if she's expecting to give this eulogy and then to damn the murderer. I think she's just tired.
Yeah.
And she just needs a second. So just put down the body for a second. And then she's surprised by looking at the wounds that she hadn't really looked at before. And then that leads to the next thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you can just sort of, you're there. Like when you need to get to, the more sort of visceral and powerful parts of the speech, it's there, and it's there from the beginning. But I think you can let it sneak up on you.
Get the build, yeah.
Chuck, you have any?
Yeah, so just before you start, just tell us where you're from again, and where your parents are from, and where you grew up, and just very quickly.
Yeah, I'm currently in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm from San Diego. I'm one of 10 children. I was raised by my grandmother, who I'm named after, and
Okay, that voice, because when you started the speech, you launched into a stage voice.
Yeah.
A bit of tremolo, telling us there's a bit of emotion. Start with that voice. Start with that voice that just took you to That's where she's at. Her man is dead. He was killed before. Her husband is killed. Now it's her father-in-law, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Warwick. I mean, but you were just telling me about, and you went, your own voice took you to a place where you're like, talking about your grandpa. I don't need to hear that. I don't need you to tell me this shit hurts. We'll see it hurts, okay? So I don't want to hear the stage voice. Does that make sense? All right.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Okay. Sit down. Set down your honorable ode, if honor may be shrouded in a hearse. Else I will obsequiously lament the untimely fall of virtuous Lancaster. Poor, key cold figure of a holy king. Pale ashes of the house of Lancaster. Thou bloodless remnant of that royal blood. Be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost, to hear the lamentations of poor Anne, wife to thy Edward, thy slaughtered son, stabbed by the self-same hands that made these wounds. Lo, into these windows that let forth thy life, I pour the helpless balm of my poor eyes. Cursed be the hands that made these holes. Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it. Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence. More direful hap betide that hated wretch that makes us wretched by the death of thee than I can wish to spiders, adders, toads, or any creeping venom thing that lives. If ever he have child, abortive be it, prodigious and untimely, brought to light, whose ugly and unnatural aspects may fright the hopeful mother at the view, and that be heir to his unhappiness. If ever he have wife, let her be made a miserable by the death of him, as I am made by the death of my poor lord and thee. Come, Now towards Chertsey with your holy load, taken from Paul's to be interred there.
Yeah. Corey, Nadia.
Yeah, I'd say that was
a really good adjustment.
That was a great, and I'd say even in the beginning, just a little bit of what Chuck was saying. There was sometimes, and this could be a choice too, and it could, but you were getting a little breathy. There was some of the royalty. There's some in some of the beginning, and it was a little whispery. And I think you could use that tiredness that Corey was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Down a little bit. And when we talk about royalty and stuff, I think sometimes kings and stuff, we start to be like, up here, they're not. These are just the people they know.
Yeah.
They're not different than you. They're not, this is the world that they're in. They're not, and just a couple things that I think the technical thing is some focusing on the verbs. I think what you were really cooking there by the end, but some of the curse that had the heart to do it, and following through the ends of those lines, curse and following through the energy wise to the ends of those lines. But I think I missed the do. There was the heart and then the heart to do it. That's a differentiation there. Just little specific things like that. But you were really making it your own towards the end there. And I loved it just in this I felt like that was you coming through her. And it was really surprising, and only you could do it that way. And that's what we want to see.
Yeah. And the starting from where you started from a much simpler, just giving the direction of lay down the body, gave you so much more. And I could see the different dynamics of the scene and the different beats really came into relief. And there's a line, what's the line that has the word creeping in it? Do you have the text in front of you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. More direful hap betide that hated wretch that makes us wretched by the death of thee than I can wish to any spiders, adders, toads, or any creeping venomed thing that lives.
Right, and that was beautiful. And where you started that that image was so great, and you got deeper than you had before. But I think this is another case of that full stop being your friend.
Yeah.
I felt that you were already onto the next line.
Yeah.
The word creeping, you were already preparing for where you were, and I think you need to follow through and get all the way through that image.
Okay, yeah.
End it, and then start the new one.
Ends at any creeping venom thing that lives, full stop. If ever he have child, abort again.
Any creeping thing that lives. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, but and you weren't doing this, but I think a very common, I had a teacher who called it the William Shatner, because you Shatnered, which is where you finish a sentence that you start the next one really quickly. And I think that's that's the effect of not using the full stop. It was slight there, but you're robbing yourself of the full image and giving yourself the sort of the jumping point to start the next one.
Yeah.
So don't think of it as amount of time you should leave, but think of landing at the end of the thought. And as soon as the next one comes, using that. So don't think of it as a time thing. Do you know what I mean? And I think that full stop thing is landing. And also, if is when you have these words like if and yet and but and all that, those are surprising things. Those are thoughts that come at you. That's why they're such short words to stress, but 9 out of 10 times you stress them, and there's a reason. You finished anything that lived, if he has a child. I mean, it's use those. It's not the but live if we have a child. No, it's like if that mother has a child. You know what I mean? And he starts it with if. He's giving you a trochaic stress as opposed to an iambic. You know what I mean? It's like he's giving, and there's a reason for that because she's finished. As chorus, you came to the full stop, it's done. And then this thought tells you where you're cursing an unborn thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's don't rush over these little ifs, buts. Yes, they're usually very crucial. But the main point, and the Corey and Nadia said about cooking, is really, it starts with the voice. It starts with just dropping the air that you're being this other thing. This role, the moment they've given it to you, the moment you've decided to audition with this, as Nadia said, you're enough.
Yeah.
So I want to hear Clotilde's voice. I want to hear her opinions. I want to hear her, whatever, joining with that of the characters. I don't want you dropping Clotilde, which is what happens. And that's why you get this higher voice like Nadia, or this tremolo in the voice and stuff like that. Because that's an idea. You're playing an idea of what this person is. It's not you. Yeah. So that's the big thing to take away from there. Michelle, do we have time just for her to do it once more for Nadia and Corey and me with these notes?
Yeah, just one more time and then we
Great. Go for it.
Okay.
And remember, don't let the image come, the imagination come before you leap into it. Trust that, yeah?
Okay.
Great.
Yep. Sit down. Set down your honorable ode. If honor may be shrouded in a hearse, whilst I a while obsequiously lament the untimely fall of virtuous Lancaster. Poor, key cold figure of a holy king, pale ashes of the house of Lancaster, thou bloodless remnant of that royal blood. Be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne, wife to thy Edward, thy slaughtered son, stabbed by the selfsame hands that made these holes. Lo, into these windows that let forth thy life, I pour the helpless balm of my poor eyes. Cursed be the hands that made these fatal holes. Cursed the heart that had the heart to do it. Cursed the blood that let this blood from hence more direful hap betide that hated wretch than I can wish to spiders, adders, toads, or any creeping venomed thing that lives. If ever he have child, abortive be it, prodigious and untimely brought to light, whose ugly and unnatural features may fright the hopeful mother at its view, and that be heir to his unhappiness. If ever he have wife, let her be made a miserable by the death of him, as I am made by the death of my poor lord in thee. Come, now towards Chertsey with your holy load, taken from Paul's to be interred there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Correct.
That was just fantastic, and it's such an exciting glimpse as to what this next scene would be when you show how fierce, for lack of a better word, your Anne is, and that the fact that after all this, Richard still seduces you. I mean, that's so great to, you know, in terms of the task that you're giving your scene partner. I think there was one, there's a phrase you talk about your poor bomb.
Lo, and from these, I pour the helpless balm of.
The helpless bomb. I think that's just to give yourself more of a launching point too, in terms of the amount of power that she feels she has from the very beginning. She's just like, I have no power. This is all I have, and it's not enough. And yet you still build to where you build to. But Beautiful.
It was
Stunning.
It was
Stunning.
really.
It's almost like I feel almost guilty the work being done only 15 minutes, but well, you know, we'll find you guys again. Okay.
Yeah, gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Clotilde. That was beautiful. Who's
Thank
next?
you. What's that name?
Who's up?
Samantha should be next.
Okay. Samantha there?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you guys so much for doing this workshop for everybody.
Thanks for being here.
I'm just going to be doing liner notes by John Patrick Gray. And I just kind of got into this piece because I just, I guess I can kind of relate. There's like pieces of like really like truth in the monologue that I really feel. I mean, I work at a cafe. It's about a waitress and, you know, and she kind of just like, kind of goes on like a vent of like just kind of speaking like what she actually thinks of, and yeah, I really like the piece, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, let's see it.
All right. I meant to bring coffee. It's this place I work at, Cafe Art Java, near the metro station. I was standing there yesterday morning making coffee, and not just coffee for me, but for everybody. I mean, my entire part of town shows up at like 5:15, even though we don't open until 5:30. And it's like this lunatic, Annie, who works there. I mean, she opens the door wide open at 3 a.m., you know, singing her heart out to Bonnie Tyler, or worse, Leonard Cohen, you know, letting all the lunatics just like hang out, you know, eating cookies free of charge. And so when people show up at like 5:15, I mean, they expect their coffee to be ready. And she knows all their orders. But if I'm working and she's not working, I don't open the door till 5:30, which is like when we open. And so I've got a line by like 5:25, and people are banging, literally banging on the glass. And I'm pointing at like their watches. And it's like, what the fuck kind of job do you work that you need coffee by like 5:30? And I'm standing, and the coffee maker's going, and no Bonnie Tyler today, so that's good. And my heart is pounding in my chest. And I can't look at my book. And I'm like, fuck it. Fuck it. Nobody gets coffee today, okay? No one gets coffee. Montreal can have a fucking lack of caffeine-induced migraine for all I fucking care, and fuck you and your coffee needs, you fucking addict of fucking, ugh. And I get my car, and they're looking at me, you know, with their destroyed, like, coffeeless faces, and I might as well have killed a cute puppy in front of them and dropped it on their heads for all the sulking they're doing. As I'm speeding away, and I can't drive home. Yeah, I can't drive home. I mean, the carpet needs cleaning, and there's dishes. And there's my mother, who, don't worry, I mean, she knows I'm here. And I don't know what to do. So I end up driving here. I need a smoke. Can I smoke in here?
Great.
That was great. That was great. This is a play, yeah?
It's a play, yeah.
Yeah. It's really great, and it's a great monologue for you. I think you're really, really funny and
Yeah.
and charming, and like, and I think I just have some like just a few little things to think about in that.
Yeah.
So she's driven to. She's sort of driven to be with a friend. She drove up somewhere after all this thing happened to her.
Yeah.
And and I'm gonna be, so she's from Montreal.
She's from Montreal, yeah.
Right, and I'm gonna make a total generalization right now. Because Canadians are known for being really nice, and this is so. This is.
I'm Canadian, so
you are okay. Being really nice.
Sorry.
And you know, for being really nice, and so I just kept thinking like, that takes a lot to be nice all the time.
Yeah.
And
sure.
so this rant, is there freedom in this rant?
Yeah.
Is this the moment? Is there actually some pleasure and telling everyone to fuck off? Like, is there something like, I want to know why today? Mm-hmm. Like, finally, you know, this is the moment, the breaking point, but why today? What's happening inside of her that this was the moment? And this moment, maybe this is totally out of character for her. I don't know the play, so I don't know what else she does in the play, but I think there's this is a turning point in her life. Yeah. I think she has spoken some truth, and she's not apologizing for it, and it feels new and weird, and so she doesn't quite know how to deal with it. Maybe allow these things to be happening for the first time, even in the retelling of it. I know she's retelling it, it's not happening, but let it be happening to you for the first time. And then a slight little technical thing, which a lot of us do, we give away the energy. Yeah. All of a sudden you're down and you got to start back up again. So see if you can at times, and you do only need it a couple times, but like, if you can hold on to the tension, because we let ourselves off the hook. Yeah. You know, you've gotten to this place and then we let it go. And then it actually makes it harder to figure out where to start from. You got to keep that ball rolling. And yeah, those were.
I think that's, yeah. I think
Chuck, do you have anything?
No, I completely agree with you. I think it's about keeping that, and also juxtapositioning in that with the fact that I think there's a real reason why it's Toronto and Canadians and whatever Toronto can go. I mean, literally, it's a city where people, I say sorry before they walk past you on the crossing. Yeah. I was in Toronto. I was like, it's true. It's not a myth. So I think playing with that. And also, how long between the incident and narrating this to this friend, roughly in time?
So I wasn't able to read the whole script, like the whole play. I wanted to, but there was no ebook available. So I couldn't find it fast enough. But basically the premise is she drives from Montreal to New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to put as much distance as to what happened, and like, you know, just driving to kind of distract yourself.
I just think for your benefits, and a bit like what Nadia was saying, is in the outside was saying is increasing the stakes. Is I know when I've been in some kind of altercation of some kind, adrenaline literally makes me shake. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a sense of this story pouring out of you, and you haven't quite come to make a judgment on what you've done yet. Right. I mean, you really haven't had that much, especially if you've just got in a car and driven all the way from friggin' New York, and so lose yourself a bit in the whole thing. And there is something that happens. I'm not saying don't go bludgeon it on the head, but there is something that happens when you go from telling a story about telling all these caffeine addicts to screw up and telling someone about, I don't want to go home to clean the carpet at my mom. There's some, I'm not saying make it emotional, but there is a definite shift of that, because in many ways, this is what this is all about. It's not about the coffee and all that stuff. It's a deep dissatisfaction with her life. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so keep those stakes raised, literally, you know, take that all into the whole monologue, and try again. It's relationships. There's a different relationship between this person you're telling the story. There's a different relationship with those people that want their coffee. There's definitely a different relationship with your mother at home. You know, we have to spill those things, right? Yeah.
It seems to me, and I could be wrong, and I want to put words or into your own process here, but like that she's looking for freedom. And these are different instances. It's at the coffee shop. No, I'm gonna sort of. She's going about. That's the way she can find it there. She goes home to mom. That is not what she needs. And then it's like that propels her into the car, and there's racing, and then we get to where we are, and then in New York, and you're still, and then it's just like, maybe it's in the cigarette or something, you know, it's just like she's just grabbing at shit, trying, but like something, there's an engine happening in her that is, it seems to me that it's freedom of some kind. It's too general. Freedom for what? Maybe you can answer better, but there's a busting out that's happening.
Should I do it again?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, okay. All right. I went to bring coffee. It's this place I work at, Cafe Art Java, near the metro station. I was standing there yesterday morning and about to make coffee. And not just coffee for me, but for everybody. I mean, my entire town shows up at 5:15, even though we don't open until 5:30. It's this lunatic, Annie, who works there. I mean, she opens the door wide open at 3 a.m., you know, singing her heart out to like Bonnie Tyler or worse, Leonard Cohen. You know, just letting all the lunatics just like hang out, you know, and eating cookies free of charge. And so when people show up there at like 5:15, I mean, they expect their coffee to be ready. And I mean, she knows all their orders, but if she's not working and I'm working, I mean, I don't open the store until 5:30, which is like when we actually open. And so I've got a line by like 5:25 and people are banging, you know, like literally banging on the glass, you know, pointing at their watches. And it's like, what the fuck kind of jobs do they work that they need coffee at like 5:30? And so I'm standing there, and the coffee maker's going, and no Bonnie Tyler today, which is great. And my heart is like pounding in my chest, and I can't get to my book. And I'm like, fuck it. Fuck it. Nobody gets coffee today, okay? No one gets coffee. Montreal can have a lack of caffeine-inducing fucking migraine for all I fucking care. And fuck you and your coffee needs, you fucking addicts of fucking, oh my God. And I get my car, and everyone's looking at me with their like devastated, coffeeless faces. And it's like, I might as well have just killed like a cute puppy and dropped it in front of their heads for all the sulking they're doing as I'm driving away. And I can't drive home. I can't drive home. The carpet needs cleaning. There's dishes. There's my mother, who, don't worry, I mean, she knows I'm here. And I don't know what to do. So I end up driving here. I need to smoke. Can I smoke in here?
Corey, Nadia?
Good. I think I think you can go further.
Yeah.
With the I think you still were several times where you sort of sighed.
Yeah.
And that energy sort of settled. Did you feel that when?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Now, how did that feel when you did it? Did it? Yeah.
I definitely like felt changes and stuff like that, especially like enjoying that moment of where I'm telling people off a little bit more.
Great. We were dying.
Yeah. I hope your neighbors think.
I know, we're like, what do our neighbors think? It was really good.
Yeah. So just definitely like, I guess, enjoying that moment more. I mean, yes, it's true. Like as Canadians, like we avoid confrontation at like all
You know-
costs. Like I just don't.
You know what I think? None of us have read this play, so we don't really know who this character is or where she comes from. But you have a very friendly, upbeat personality, and I think it could be interesting. I don't know if we have time to go through this again.
What are you gonna say, Jeff?
Michelle, she's like Big Brother. Michelle, what do you think?
Well, we're a little past 4:30 and we've still got 3 people, so.
Okay. All right.
But we don't. I mean, because we don't really have time to do this now. But I think something that could be really fun for you to experiment is that except for the explosion, she is hanging on to her sweetness and her upbeat Canadianness for dear life. You know what I mean? And I think and to really, and I think it could be very funny to see you flipping back and forth between this, you know, have you ever seen the movie Network? You know, I'm sick as hell, and mad as hell, I'm not gonna take it anymore. You know, you have this explosion, but it's because you've been keeping this smile and you've been apologizing your entire life, and you're still I think it could be really fun that you're still doing it in this speech.
Yeah.
But the explosion changes you. Finally something happens, and then you get in the car and you're all of a sudden in New York. You've surprised the shit out of yourself, but maybe you can't go back. Maybe you've actually spoken some truth.
Yeah.
And like, oh boy, it was a little dangerous and scary, but oh God, that felt good.
That felt good. Yeah.
But I think you know, this is something that could be fun to explore. And I think what's important, I think you need to be very clear of who you're talking to and what you need, and what you need from them. And so I you know, it is a cliche, the Canadian I'm sorry, but I think that is she's sort of asking for absolution from her friends, that she did this transgressive thing, but was that okay? You know?
That's so crazy. Like I didn't think about that when I was doing this and kind of going through. So it's so great to like hear other opinions of like, you know, how to see something like from a different perspective. It's crazy because I'm like, that totally makes sense to me now.
Yeah. Great. I mean,
it's a great monologue for you. It was really
a great one. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Sam.
you so much.
Thank you.
All right, who's next?
Next.
Hi.
Hello. Hey. Holly.
Hi, Chuck.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I do Hermione from Winter's Tale? Because I've never done it before, and I've done it a lot, and I'm really excited to do it.
Yay.
Yes. Okay. Spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity? The crown and comfort of my life, your favor, I do give lost. For I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second comfort. Oh shit, I totally went up. Okay. Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity? The crown and comfort of my life, your favor, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, the innocent milk in his most innocent mouth, hailed out is from my breast, the innocent milk in his most innocent mouth, hailed out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet, with immodest hatred, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place before I have got strength of limit. Now tell me, sir, what blessings I have here alive that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet hear this. Mistake me not. No life. I prize it not a straw, but for mine honor, which I would free. If I should be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleeping else but what your jealousies awake, I tell you, 'tis rigor, not law. Your honors, all I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge.
Lovely.
Bravo,
Great.
bravo.
Fantastic.
Fuck, I love that speech.
Thank you.
I can tell
I
that
know,
you have a real
yeah.
connection to it.
Yeah.
You know what? That I have a.
Well, you have a real connection to
Yeah.
the material, and that it's you know it's coming from a deep place in you, and
Mhm.
and from your, it feels like it coming from your real voice, which is
Oh, thanks.
I think a huge start.
Mhm. And absolutely. And I think what will help maybe some of it is I mean, and also it's a fucking emotional speech, so you don't want to be like, emotionality shouldn't obscure it, because I don't want to cut that off either. But I think as you're learning it, like it, because the stakes are so high, I think there's some things you can do to kind of ground it down,
Right.
Into and make it more specific. Even just out of that first line, also, she's been in jail, separated from her baby, humiliated. So the bug what you would frighten me with, I see, motherfucker. Like, I think you can allow yourself to be a little angrier, and that may just be Nadia. So don't, but I think there's some, I think there's some facts. She goes through a list of these facts of this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, and lastly, this. Like, I think you can let that build. And I think there's something, like, she's had a lot of time to think about this. And like the facts, the words will speak for themselves, just like what Chuck was saying, that like, what were you saying?
The argument makes itself.
The argument makes itself, exactly. You don't have to tell us how shitty it is. We get it. And so just letting that build a little bit, and letting the experience perhaps of what she's been through, in your little apartment, feed her bodily experience, she's got nothing to lose right now. And also that no life, I prize it not a struggle, like, no, like, I would love to hear that word life. How do you feel? Like you, let me see how you feel about that word. But my honor, right? My honor, is that what it is? Like the difference, you can infuse those words with, you can let us know how you feel about those words with your voice a little bit.
Okay.
Carly, I want you to do me a favor also, using all of what they've said about the experiences. So what are her situation coming in here? What's just happened?
Right.
I just gave birth.
And where did you give birth?
In the jail cell.
In a jail cell. And literally barely hours after you've given birth, you're dragged in front of a court, right?
Yeah.
I'd love you to just maybe for the 8, like up to maybe the first 8 to 10 lines, do you think you know the speech well enough where you can say the whole line and take a little bit at the end of each line, physical line, before going on? So don't run it for sentence, run it for line.
Got it, because she's exhausted?
Yeah, but don't think of it. Just literally take a little and then start the next line and start the next line, even though it's not for sense, not for like, but strictly for the structure of the line. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I think I can.
See how, yeah. See if you can do that.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
Spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favor, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, yet know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred like one.
Okay, sorry, I'm just stopping.
That first fruits of my body.
But know now how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence.
Ah.
Really be strict with it. It was gorgeous the way you started, but just start again and be strict with it. Really don't run the sentence. Just go to the line, take a breath, embrace the exhaustion. Imagine you're on Everest and you know when you have no oxygen and you're at the top of it. So basically you've run out of breath at the end of each line and go that way, yeah?
Uh-huh.
All right, so no breaks in the line. The only break you take at the end of each line and then go to the next line, then end of the next line, right? Okay.
Uh-huh. I'm gonna look at it. I'm looking at it. So I can do this.
Yes, look at it and do it that way.
Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would fright me with, I seek. To me can life be no commodity. The crown and comfort of my life, your favor, I do give loss. For I do feel it gone, yet know not how it went. Do I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence, I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, starred most unluckily, is from my breast. The innocent milk in his most innocent mouth, haled out to murder. Myself on every post, proclaimed a strumpet. With immodest hatred, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place in the open air before I have got strength of limit. Now tell me, sir, now my liege, tell me what blessings I have here alive, that I should fear to die. Therefore proceed. But yet hear this. No life. No life. I prize it not a straw, but for my honor, which I would free. If I should be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleeping else, but what your jealousies awake, I tell you, 'tis rigor and not law. Your honors all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge.
It's a
Yeah,
it's a deeply weird, uncomfortable rule to follow in this speech because you just want to run it through.
Yeah.
But I can think of no clearer, simpler way of doing all those things Nadia said about exhaustion, anger, whatever, than these weird breaks in her thinking. I don't know, Nadia, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it actually, it made, how did it feel? I feel like it made a lot of sense.
It feels like my breathing is, it literally altered my breathing.
It did.
And I've heard it and listened and taught it so many times that I do want to run it through. So by forcing me to stop in those weird places, it's like, it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounded very much like you. That was, I feel like that was your voice, and it was like, it sort of, like it was coming through you, and it really, I really got a sense of place and of history and of what had just happened actually with this. It was really interesting.
And I think one thing that really was interesting with this exercise is that I noticed when you did it the first time, you were shaking your head a lot. I think there was, I'm not quite sure exactly what that is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But the note that I was going to give you was to allow yourself to just move around the room, which was probably going to be a terrible note. But this worked a lot better. But I think what this did was that it funneled it all through the language.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That you knew that you were going to have to end the line at the line. Right. And so you poured all of your intentionality into the language. And I think before there was a lot of extra energy that had to be let out through this sort of head shaking or head nodding.
Yeah. Tension for sure.
And what's amazing about you is that emotionally, I mean, I've always said to people that you're not responsible for your emotional life. You can leave your emotional life alone, Carly. You've got a connection to this thing. What we're trying to say is raise the whole world around what's going on. And especially say you've taught it and done it so often that you're making sense of it and logically doing it and then having to find the emotional life on top of that. When if you let the lines do it for you and you want to keep going and you keep stopping, actually physiologically that's actually doing the emotional life for you. That's starting and stopping and weirdness of breath, and suddenly it's happening to you because it's kind of slightly frustration to stop at my second joy and first fruits from his presence. What the fuck? I am bad. You see what I'm saying? It's not about just stopping. It's like when you go back to this now, being so familiar with it, all those leaps, those ends of lines, it's not about coming to a stop, as you know. It's about, what am I going to say next? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that starting and stopping of your breath, the diaphragm suddenly isn't used to that. It's not used to and that's all crying is and emotion is. We're putting different kinds of pressure on a diaphragm that isn't normal and we don't want it to happen. And you want to speak more, but your thought has ended or hasn't ended yet, and you have to stop, and your diaphragm is like, what the hell is going on here? And that's the lack of control, you know? And that's physiologically the answer to it. And Shakespeare has done that for you. And then later on, when she goes, therefore, but then she goes, but yet again, but I mean, two double things, but and a yet. That's the queen comes out. And if you look at the text, you can run it logically, because now the logic is ending at the end of the line because she's found her ground.
Yeah,
that's
the
fatigue is gone. Before she's wobbly, so her logic doesn't match the verse lines. And then suddenly, by the time you get there, you're like, you know what? I've found my queen. And then suddenly your voice will do something different. You know what I mean? So that's one of the gifts of the verse structure, is that so much of your emotional direction is actually being done in the verse as well, you know?
Right.
Now, Chuck, are you talking about this as an exercise, or is this?
No, this is how I genuinely, I mean, this is a general thing. I think we talked a little bit. I genuinely put the really hard and fast verse rules of, it's not a pause. You go to the end of the line and you do it. And the only time I don't do it is when I absolutely can't make sense of it. If it's hard to make sense of it, I'll still do it because hard is sometimes good. But I use that as a rule in general, unless I absolutely can't. You know that whole thing, know the rules so you can break them?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's a rule I put. And then if I can't, I can't. I mean, a great example is when she says here, where is it? Where she goes, I am barred like one infectious. My third comfort, just like, yes, you want to take that beat. But what if you don't and go, because I have so much to say to you, motherfucker. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good rule to impose unless you absolutely can't. Then because you know it, you know why you're breaking it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was trying to complete the image, you know, because she has really clear images and I wanted to keep them intact, but
yes. But that's the funny thing is that you think it's easier to keep it intact by running the line. It's actually hard. There's so much for our ears to process that it's actually easier for us to see the image, taking those little lifts, as long as the idea is still there, just for us to catch up with you and then you take us again. It's actually, we always make this mistake of thinking by running the sentence. Nadia said it, those first few lines were much clearer. Even though you were like, taking those little beats at the end of the line, it's easier for us to catch up. It's for us to tune in and know what's going on. And as long as you, the actor, infuse it with a reason for stopping, i.e. fatigue, mental strength, lack of belief, I have to defend myself, whatever you need, we will then catch up with you. Do you know what I mean? Because the argument's on the page. You're bringing the stuff in between, yeah? We could work on this for ages. I would
love to do it again, but I know we're short on time.
Let's
Thanks,
catch up when this
great.
madness ends.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Great. Who's next?
Hi. Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
Miles.
I just want to say thank you guys very much. It's a great honor working with all three of you. All right. So I didn't know what I was going to do until I joined this call. I was going to do Benedict, but I decided against it. I'm doing Air in the Moor from Titus Andronicus. Love this monologue. Sooner the sword shall plow thy bowels up. Stay, murderous villains. Will you kill your brother? Now by the burning tapers of the sky that shone so brightly when this boy was got, he dies upon my scimitar's sharp point that touches this, my firstborn son and heir. I tell you, younglings, not Enceladus, with all his threatening band of Typhon's brood, nor great Alcides, nor the god of war, shall seize this prey out from his father's hands. What? What? You sanguine, shallow-hearted boys. You white-limed walls, you alehouse-painted signs. Coal-black is better than another hue, in that it scorns to bear another hue. For all the water in the ocean can never turn the swan's black legs to white, although she lave them hourly in the flood. Tell the empress from me I am of age to keep mine own, excuse it how she can.
Great.
This isn't the speech that I was. This isn't the speech at the end, right? This isn't when he's.
No. So this is like the baby comes out and like, oh my God, the baby's black, but that's my mom's baby. Yeah. That's my brother, and it's black. You know.
I think. I think it. You know, as we were talking about before, in terms of sort of Shakespeare voice. That's definitely coming in, especially in the beginning. I think as you relax into it, you got closer to your own voice, and I know it's such a general note to say to use your own voice, and so that's what we have to sort of figure out the Miles that is Aaron the Moor, you know. So that's the only thing that's how this is going to be really powerful.
Right.
And I think, you know, you sort of threatened, you know, he dies, you know, right in the beginning. Aaron knows that he is the greatest fighter, certainly in that particular room or space, you know. So he doesn't have to scare anybody. It's not a threat. It's a promise, right? And I think if you could just sort of start again with that sort of understanding that you don't need to boast of your prowess as a warrior. Your voice doesn't have to be any deeper. You don't have to be any older than you are. You know, there's nothing to say that that this character isn't your exact age and your exact build. You know, we've all seen enough action movies to know that, like, it's, you know, some little skinny guy who's, not that you're skinny, but, you know, but it does, you don't need, it's not necessarily the you know, the Rock who's going to be the best fighter.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what I would say, starting again with that sense of power. Just know that you can take anybody in the room.
I had a friend named T. Roche who I did this with, and I did this exercise with him where I pretended that I was a cowboy, and I was challenged by like one of the drunks to a shootout, and I was, you know, the fastest hand in the West. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. That sounds great.
Totally.
Yeah. Right on.
Chuck, you want to add anything?
Okay.
No, I thought that was great. I think that's a good place to start with is Miles. We want to hear Miles's voice. And again, we know, I mean, Aaron can break these guys in half. They're little pups he's raised, these two kids. So just talk to them. Yeah.
Sooner this sword shall plow thy bowels up. Stay, murderous villains. Will you kill your brother? Now, by the burning tapers of the sky, that shone so brightly when this boy was got, he dies upon my scimitar's sharp point, that touches this, my firstborn son and heir. I tell you, younglings, not Enceladus, with all his threatening band of Typhon's brood, nor great Alcides, nor the god of war, shall seize this prey out from his father's hands. What? You sanguine, shallow-hearted boys, you white-limed walls, you alehouse-painted signs. Coal black is better than another hue in that it scorns to bear another hue. For all the water in the ocean can never turn the swan's black legs to white, although she lave them hourly in the flood. Tell the empress from me I am of age to keep mine own. Excuse it how she can.
Great, better. How'd that feel?
It's very good, very strong, much stronger than before. It feels, the way I've been doing it up until now is that this is if he has to prove that he's that guy, you know? Yeah. Like he's the motherfucker in the room who's gonna kill motherfuckers. And like there it's more of like a, you know this, I know this. Let's not play the games of you're gonna stab me.
Sorry, Aaron, I missed that last bit. He has to prove that he's the what? He's the he's the what? And these guys want to kill, who do they want to kill? These two white boys.
Me.
No, they want to kill your baby.
Right.
They're saying the baby, your black, beautiful baby, who you got from the shagging their mother, is not good enough. And you spend half the speech explaining why coal black is better than their pale ass white skin. Can you do the speech with that attitude and drop all sense of Shakespeare? Tell these motherfuckers they're about to say your baby, not you, you've taken it your whole life. You can take it. They're saying your baby has to die because it's black. You just use that. That moment you said motherfucker was Aaron in that moment. So do the speech and just drop all the airs and do the speech with that.
Sooner the sword shall plow thy bowels up. Stay, murderous villains. Will you kill your brother? No.
No, Miles, when you say stay, murderous villains, you said sooner, don't do it, and they're still raising their knife to smash it. You're saying stay, stop that, drop that gun. That's what stay is. It's not a concept. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Sooner the sword shall plow thy bowels up. Stay, murderous villains. Will you kill your brother? Now, by the burning tapers of the sky that shone so brightly when this boy was got, he dies upon my scimitar's sharp point that touches this, my firstborn son and heir. I tell you, younglings, not Enceladus, with all his threatening band of Typhon's brood, nor great Alcides, nor the god of war, shall seize this prey out from his father's hands. What, you sanguine, shallow-hearted boys, you white-limed walls, you alehouse-painted signs, coal-black is better than another hue, in that it scorns to bear another hue. For all the water in the ocean can never turn the swan's black legs to white, although she lave them hourly in the flood. Tell the empress from me I am of age to keep mine own. Excuse it how she can.
Corey, Nadia?
yeah, better. And I think I think this sort of goes I don't know if it's contrary to what you were saying about the argument, Chuck, but that the specificity of these arguments are stronger than than any threat. Mm-hmm. You know, there's just like this is ridiculous. Like I can prove to you that black is better than white because of this, and this, mm-hmm. and it's self-evidently clear, right? Just from the strength of the argument, and that's what's really great about this speech is that this place that the speech sort of starts in this place of just sort of very brute force. Yeah, and it's just like, hold on a second, like we're on the same team here. We want the best baby possible, and I've just produced it. Right. So I mean, there's
your brother.
Yeah, and I think Aaron he's aware of the irony in it. I don't think he's I don't know.
I think it's actually that actually what Corey is saying is right. Is that at the beginning you're staying them and you're saying I will quote unquote kill you if you try and do this, and then he goes into this real argument of talking about, look, black. If you mix any other color with black, what color comes out? Still black. So there's a real logic to it. But to earn that logic of bringing, we have to start with the guy that he's a warrior prince, and that's what's scary about Aaron. He's a warrior, but he's really smart. He plays everyone in the play. Don't forget that. But the whole thing is that for us to embrace what Corey is saying and what you do in the speech, which is argue why black is a superior color by the end of it, we have to see the man just go like, okay, we're going to have a conversation now, right? Right? We're going to now, because we're going to talk now. So showing those flavors. So it's not one or the other, you know.
Right. And then and that's what's really delicious about this speech too, is that, you know, you can almost see in a sort of a cartoon version of it that it starts with swords and then he's just sort of sitting on the sword and talking, because it's there's almost a Bugs Bunny sort of effect of it, that it's just like he's turned this violent confrontation into you know, a game of wits.
Yeah.
And that's I think you can really plumb the deliciousness of that, and the fun and the sort of trickster aspect of that.
And one little element, perhaps, I don't even know if they're, but like there also, when you say this, my firstborn son, I think you can make something of the fact that the thing we're talking about is right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just like that was a little rushed over a little bit, and that like, and just, it didn't have to like make a, you know, three act play out of it, but like, but I think there's something about the immediacy of that, and you can use that too, you know. There's not only are you an example, but this baby is too, that you're sort of a team together, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, good work, Miles. That's a good speech for you, but it's often with these characters, there's a lot more to them than we think, you know. And definitely with Aaron, he's put up as the villain. Just be really careful of words that describe characters like that, because, but you know, this is his son he protects. He's basically saying, I'll kill you all to save my son, including your mother, who I've been shagging, you know. So, anyway, great work. Lovely. All right.
Yeah, nice shirt too.
Thank you.
We have about one more?
One more.
Yeah.
5:15.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Zal. How are you? Thanks for staying late with us. I know that
Sure.
a little over, but thank you. So I'm going to do a monologue from the play The Chosen by Chaim Potok and Aaron Posner. And just really quickly, the two things I want to say beforehand are, one, I think repeatedly I've been told in classes by teachers that I just am working too hard and just trying to relax the work is just the big thing that I constantly working on. And then, like, I think David, the first guy who went, I'm sort of transitioning more from theater into more TV film stuff, and just figuring out some of what was brought up in the Q&A about not just bringing the size and volume down, but figuring out that new medium. So those are the two things I wanted to bring up.
Cool.
My father takes God and Torah absolutely seriously. In his eyes, a secular Jewish state is a terrible sacrilege. Zionists like Herzl and Ben-Gurion are not real Jews to him. They're not followers of the commandments, they are apikorsim. They're contaminated. And so is Zionism. It's that simple to him. Don't ever mention Zionism in front of my father again. You have to be careful what you say around here. You have to be careful what you think around here. You have no idea what it's like. Imagine being locked in a cell where you can see the whole world. And everything you want is right outside a window, but you're not allowed to look or think or move. And you're supposed to stay right there, trapped just like that your whole life. Do you have any idea what it feels like? Listen, I love my father. I do. I don't know what he's trying to do with this silence he's established between us, but I think he's a great man. And I pity him too. He's trapped. He was born trapped, but I can't stay trapped. I can't and I won't. I've got to be able to breathe. How can I ask questions and then ignore the answers? How can I read Freud and then ignore everything I've learned? Don't worry. It's like Talmud. When the commentaries contradict each other, there's always a way of reconciling the different points of view. Somehow I've just got to figure it out.
Great. That was really great. I think just because of what you said at the beginning about you wanted to, you're specifically trying to do this for film. Let's change the camera angle.
Yeah.
Now, and why don't you get in a little bit closer? Get into, you know.
Do you think it should sit or stay standing, or is that?
Well, if it's hard for you to move your camera to a thing where you can stay standing, and why don't you sit?
It would probably be easier to sit to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, sit will be fine.
Yeah, and this, you know, I know this is sort of what's contrary to what I was saying before about, you know, let them figure out the right angle. But let's just, you know, let's just say that, you know, sometimes the director isn't actor friendly, and sometimes they're like, no, this is the shot, and this is the way I want to do it. I think, can you get it even a little bit closer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. I honestly hid my self view so I wouldn't be seeing myself. So let me just turn it back on.
That's it.
I don't want to be watching myself while I was working.
Right. So, but it's a wide enough shot so that you're not going to leave.
Is this good?
That's great.
Okay.
This would be actually like a self-tape, probably like size too. Like taping it or something.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to fill you up with too many notes. I think it might just be fun to just go again, and with this awareness of this smaller audience.
Sure.
Yeah, and also from what you said earlier about not working too hard, I think just to think about that in this, you know this so well, and we buy you as this person, and I think you can, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to say this. I think you can let the arguments and you can let the feelings come from inside of you instead of, maybe it's actually your need for this other person more. Actually, it's not about, maybe it's actually because I feel like I'm losing some of the arguments actually because you know them so well and you're showing me how well you know them.
Right.
So I think it's actually, there's a little more, it's a dangerous word, but vulnerability perhaps in a seeking. And that other person, do you know how this feels? Like, do you know how it feels? Like, really ask those questions because you need to know that you're not alone, or do I seem crazy, or can you understand how fucking hard this is?
Well, you know, and something that might actually be helpful with this is that maybe, so you'll turn yourself off, and then
I'm already off. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already off, and then why don't we won't go away? We'll mute ourselves.
Yeah, I was like originally thinking about having sort of one of you two to work off of. So
here, is it a dude you're talking to?
it is a dude I'm talking to. So I'll look at Corey.
And so, you know, instead of and so I mean, this is something that we've been a note that we've been hitting a lot today. But just general
all of it on the person.
About you know, allowing it really to be a scene, and that you're getting as much information from me, and you need as much information from me as you're back.
Yep.
Okay.
My father takes God and Torah absolutely seriously. In his eyes, a secular Jewish state is a terrible sacrilege. Zionists like Herzl and Ben-Gurion are not real Jews to him. They are not followers of the commandments. They are apikorsim. They're contaminated, and so is Zionism. It's that simple to him. Don't ever mention Zionism in front of my father again. You have to be careful what you think around here. You have to be careful what you say around here. You have no idea what it's like. Imagine being locked in a cell where you can see the whole world and everything you want is right outside a window, but you're not allowed to look or think or move, and you're supposed to stay right there, trapped just like that your whole life.
Do you have any idea what it feels like? Listen. I love my father. I do. I don't know what he's trying to do with this silence he's established between us, but I think he's a great man, and I respect him, and I trust him completely. And I pity him too. He's trapped. He was born trapped, but I can't stay trapped. I can't, and I won't. I've got to be able to breathe. How can I ask questions and then ignore the answers? How can I read Freud and then ignore everything I've learned? Don't worry. I'll work it out. It's like Talmud. When the commentaries contradict each other, there's always a way of reconciling the different points of view. Somehow I've just got to figure it out.
That was great. How'd that feel?
Very different, completely different. Yeah. I've done this piece for many, many years now, and I think something that I fall into the trap of sort of line readings that are stuck, and I think doing it this way felt probably one of the most different than I've done in a long time, just because it was, at this piece, I would only at this point ever do in an audition where and sort of something that Chuck talked about on a different class was in an audition setting. If you are not with a reader, Chuck commented about using the actual people behind the table, which is always sort of a no-no that you hear. But it's interesting to that concept of actually using a person, no matter what, even if there's not, even if it's someone, which is a questionable thing, but I think just working with someone is so much easier on this piece than not, because it's a scene. It's a scene.
Right. Part of me wants to sort of even to see if we can break it up even a little bit more.
Sure.
And just make it, do it in a way. And I think, so your father's in the next room?
Yeah, he just left. He just stormed out, and that's the spark that leads into this.
Yeah, do you have to go?
Keep going.
Okay. Do you want to try that? He's left, but
he can hear everything.
Yeah. And it's you have to keep your voice really down, like you have to talk like this.
Okay.
And Zal, who are you talking to?
I'm talking to my best friend, who has different family views than our family, and trying to reach out to say I need help and help me get out of this trapped world I'm in.
That's something I think Corey is working with on the technical side of it, of how you talk to the person, because I feel as an observer slightly attacked, as if I'm in the same boat as your dad. But you need something from this guy. He's not just a sounding board, right?
Yeah.
If they were just a sounding board, those sort of friends that you just vent on and they're great at letting you vent, but you just said you need something.
I want his help to help me out. Is
great.
Yeah.
Just drop that. Just drop that into your head as you're explaining this shit to him. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Hey, Corey, do you mind just talking for a second so the camera switches back to you?
Okay, hey.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks. My father takes God and Torah absolutely seriously. In his eyes, a secular Jewish state is a terrible sacrilege. Zionists, I don't feel in it. Sorry, let me start over. I can tell I didn't feel it.
And I'm like, I'm like lurking here. I don't know. I forgot to.
No, sorry. Sorry.
I was feeling it.
You bought it.
Yeah.
And also, that is so weird because I was feeling it too. That's weird.
It's so weird. It's always those things that happen, right?
I know.
Yeah.
It's just different for you. That's why.
Yeah, it just feels different. Yeah. All right.
But I think also what Chuck is saying is that we are co-conspirators against your father.
Against him. Yeah, sure.
If you have to go, go straight.
I got to.
Okay.
I'm trying to get rid of you from just like. Okay.
My father takes God and Torah absolutely seriously. In his eyes, a secular Jewish state is a terrible sacrilege. Zionists like Herzl and Ben-Gurion are not real Jews to him. They're not followers of the commandments. They are apikorsim. They are contaminated. And so is Zionism. It's that simple to him. Don't ever mention Zionism in front of my father again. You have to be careful what you say around here. You have to be careful what you think around here. You have no idea what it's like. Imagine being locked in a cell where you can see the whole world and everything you want is right outside a window, but you're not allowed to look or think or move, and you're supposed to stay right there. Trapped just like that your whole life. Do you have any idea what it feels like? Listen, I love my father. I do. I don't know what he's trying to do with the silence he's established between us, but I think he's a great man, and I respect him, and I trust him completely. And I pity him too. He's trapped. He was born trapped, but I can't stay trapped. I can't, and I won't. I've got to be able to breathe. How can I ask questions and then ignore the answers? How can I read Freud and then ignore everything I've learned? Don't worry. It's like Talmud. When the commentaries contradict each other, there's always a way of reconciling the different points of view. Somehow I've just got to figure it out.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted more.
And Zal, believe it or not, all that anger and frustration that you were working so hard to show us, whatever, and just rooting what you said to us. It was you that said you need help from your friend, in making that argument very clear to your friend. I felt the frustration and anger and the fact that this guy was at his,
it's all still there, regardless of needing to feel like I'm putting it on. Putting it all on the other person is, well, we keep hearing over and over again.
Yeah, and it's not, and it's not, that wouldn't be a weird thing to do in an audition room.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and I mean, and also those glimmers of joy of looking at what the world is from your cave,
giving yourself time to see that.
Yeah, and I think you can go even further than that. And I do think it's a little bit of Jewish humor talking about the Talmudic way of looking at it.
Yes,
like,
of course.
I can bargain my way out of anything.
Right.
But not really. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And in general, that's something that's come out a lot today is because a lot of you have said they're pieces that and you've done and stuff. And I think sometimes I'm now coming around to the idea that maybe I wouldn't be so upset when I have less time to prep for a meeting with someone. Do you know what I mean? There's something about I think the longer you know something and you stay with it, actually, the less your imagination works on it. And it's more about delivering these certain beats and stuff like that. And then suddenly you have 3 people throwing things at you, making you go back to it as new. And suddenly your imagination, no one said anything about finding a joyous moment, but Zal, your imagination, which is why you're an artist and an actor, took over and said, actually, it's kind of light. You felt something new. It wasn't this course you've plotted for yourself time and time again. So maybe that's the thing keep that sort of imagination fresh. You know, there are a million ways of doing every beat.
Self-aware of those patterns that you're getting into too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's much better than, you know,
not thinking you're being great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for Michelle, could everyone just unmute to say their big thanks to Corey and Nadia for being with us today. Guys, you guys are amazing.
Very much. Amazing.
And also, like, Chuck and all of you are giving me total faith that like work can still be done this way. It's like, it's really, so thank you all for being yourselves. It's really like very inspiring.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Thanks for being here.